Is it starting off at that slide?
No, that's a good point. Let's put it on the slide it should start on. It's starting on the slide of you.
No.
And started from the beginning, and then Constance or Patrick will have the clicker.
Okay.
So, and they'll advance the slide. So then once you put this up, and then make your remarks and invite Dean Babinsky up, you're done for the night.
Okay. Hold on, one more time.
Yeah.
After I open this, I finish the video, I open this slide, do I just start talking? Good
Yeah,
evening.
start it as a slideshow, so there's a huge picture of you behind you.
Okay.
And then start talking.
That's totally not creepy at all.
No. It's a nice picture.
I took it in the bathroom with Jones Day, I think.
Well, it looks good. All right, so let's put this back on. And undo that. Okay, you are all set. And yeah, perfect timing for your final.
Good evening, everybody. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. We'll be starting in 3 minutes. Hi, we'll be starting in 1 minute, so if everyone could take a seat, please. We'll be starting in 1 minute. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 27th Annual Epic Inspiration Awards. We are so happy to see all of you guys here, and it's a pretty big auditorium, and it's pretty full, so extra happy. I will try to keep this short, to keep my billables short as well and low. Just kidding. My name is Savi Simon, and I am honored to be Epic's president this year. Since my first day at Emory, the public interest community has been both a home and a place of support. Growing up in Georgia, I saw and continue to see how difficult life is for a lot of Georgians and a lot of residents, especially for those that come from a lower socioeconomic background. Residents who experience disadvantages such as food and housing insecurity, limited education and employment opportunities, underdeveloped language proficiency, and mixed legal status. Being an Epic has offered me the opportunity to go from being a resident receiving these services to now being a resource to more residents. Tonight we will be honoring three practitioners who have contributed enormously to Emory's legal community and the larger Georgia community. These individuals have positively impacted countless lives over the years and over the course of their careers. They have inspired so many, and after tonight, we are sure that many more will be inspired. Our honorees serve as examples of the advocates and people that we aim to be, dedicated, innovative, and always seeking out opportunities to help the greater good. Thank you for showing up day after day. We will also be celebrating our public interest students tonight, namely those that are early in their career and have already decided that they are going to work really hard to impact and change the world. Among those honorees is a fellow third-year law student who is very passionate about what she does and has inspired me personally to continue my journey. So we are very honored to have all of our recipients here with us tonight and all of you all celebrating with us. There are so many people to thank tonight. Without them, this night would not be possible. First, I'd like to thank all of you here. Thank you for showing up. I know it's been a long day, and I appreciate all of you guys coming out here and smiling with us. You guys are the ones that make Epic possible by tirelessly supporting us and showing up day after day. Without your support in funding our summer Epic grants and beyond, so many of us would not be able to pursue public interest work. If you haven't yet, there are some quotes and pictures outside in Hunter Atrium, kind of telling a little bit about students' experiences. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, please take a moment later on in the evening. These reflections highlight the meaning and the impact of public interest opportunities that our students have had and that have been made possible by your generosity. Second, I'd like to thank the faculty and the staff that support us and that work with Epic every day, and who have also made this night possible. I particularly want to express my gratitude to Corey. Everybody say hi to Corey. and also to Georgette. Everybody say hi to Georgette. Corey and Georgette work tirelessly day in and day out to provide the support to all students. This year was a year of transition, so I'm incredibly grateful to all of you, but especially to the both of you for showing up and figuring things out with us. So thank you so much. Third, I want to thank all the students here with us tonight. A lot of you guys, I know that understand law school is so difficult sometimes, and sometimes you don't even think you have the time to do things. And so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to show up for our community, for events, and for anything that you guys have ever offered to help. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I would obviously like to thank the Epic board, and if I could get them to stand, please. The Epic board is probably one of the biggest boards on campus of student orgs, and so obviously working in a group environment sometimes is difficult or things of that sort. This group has made it so incredibly easy and so supportive of any process that we've tried to make happen. They've worked so hard to make it happen. So thank you so much for being such an incredible team, and I hope to continue working with you guys in the future. Thank you for all your support and all your work. Public interest life at Emory would not be the same without you guys. And lastly, I want to thank our wonderful inspiration chairs, Constance Couch and Patrick Dunlap, if they would also stand. They are the driving force behind this entire event. So thank you guys for putting together such an incredible event, and for just being amazing people in general. Thank you so much. But I've been here long enough, so please join me in welcoming another longtime EPIC supporter, Dean Mary Ann Babinski. Thank you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night.
That's a much earlier picture, I think we all know. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this year's EPIC Inspiration Awards. As you've heard, this is an important annual event for the law school in which we celebrate amazing, accomplished, inspiring individuals who have devoted themselves to public interest in various ways, and in which we also seek to raise funds for these EPIC summer awards that you've heard about that make such a difference for our students. And you'll hear more during the course of the evening about how you can support those summer grants, but I'll just say, having had the opportunity to talk with students over time, they make a pivotal difference in the ability of our students to do this important work, and I encourage everyone to provide whatever support they can. I think you've gotten a little bit of a sense of the passion and commitment of our students. It is thrilling to be around them, to hear about their hopes and dreams, what brought them to Emory, what they hope to do with the knowledge, skills, and ethical framework that they gain here to make the world a better place. And I think I'm probably speaking to the choir, I guess, in saying how important that public interest spirit is and how important that public interest work is for all of us. When we think about the role that public interest lawyers play in navigating complex legal systems and in helping those who would otherwise be without help to address the wrongs in society, to fight for environmental sustainability, fair labor practices, the rights of immigrants and refugees, to challenge discriminatory practices, and to work in so many ways to make a difference for individual clients who otherwise wouldn't have the ability to navigate the complex world of law that governs all of us. Our students do have the opportunity to participate in activities that make a difference across the law school. There are, as people may know, we have nationally renowned clinics in environmental law, child law and policy, juvenile justice. We have volunteer opportunities through volunteer clinics in different areas, including the Veterans Clinic. We have externship programs in which students have the opportunity to work for nonprofits or governmental agencies while they're in school for academic credit. But I think you also all know, because you're here tonight, that the crown jewel of our programming and activities in the public interest are spearheaded by the EPIC student organization. And it is so exciting to see the student leaders who are drawn to this organization, who make it a vital part of the law school, and who work tirelessly to try and secure the support for the EPIC summer grants that you'll hear about this evening. I also want to acknowledge Georgette Thin, as you just heard, and Corey Fleming-Hirakawa, who's taken on a major leadership role in supporting EPIC and in supporting public interest and pro bono activities at the school. As you've heard, it's been a year of transition. Rita Sheffy led this area for so long, and she's here with us this evening. Thanks so much, Rita. And it's been really important to have Corey and Georgette's support for our students during this time of transition. As you have heard, we're going to have the opportunity to shine a spotlight on individuals who have inspired so many and done so much through their passions, talents, and commitment to those in need. These are the champions of justice, the defenders of the vulnerable, the architects of a more equitable society. We're going to be recognizing individuals who've gone above and beyond and who have given of themselves to hear and support others. And among those, actually, is a student, as you'll hear in a moment when my colleague, Randy Waldman, introduces our first honoree. But before we get to that, I just want to thank each of you for taking the time to participate this evening, for your strong support for making the world a better place, and for the inspiration that you provide for our students in everything that you do. Thanks so much.
The Mark and Rebecca Wasserman Public Service Award is given to a third-year student who has exemplified the greatest commitment to public interest law through his or her work at Emory Law. It is my honor tonight to present this year's Mark and Rebecca Wasserman Public Service Award to Neve Creedon-Carey. Neve's resume speaks volumes about her commitment to public service, and my speech got shorter because you heard half her resume on the video that played before we started. That resume has helped Emory community, the Atlanta community, all of which have benefited and been inspired by her commitment to public service. During her time at Emory, Neve has balanced multiple public interest roles, both inside and outside of the law school. She's a former EPIC conference chair and current vice president. Last summer, she balanced 2 RA positions, as well as her internship at the Southern Center for Human Rights. And in her previous summer, as you heard, she spent the summer working with capital offenders. Personally, though, I worked with Neve during her 2 semesters at the Juvenile Defender Clinic. She also helped me out as an RA, keeping in touch with all of our active clients over the course of the summer between those 2 semesters. Neve's first and last assignments at the JDC perfectly encapsulate Neve, so I'll start there. Neve entered the clinic as a 2L during the spring 2023 semester. We held JDC orientation for that semester on January 6th. That very day, a returning 3L student was out sick and an urgent matter needed attention. Neve stepped up to draft and file her very first motion. That same day, that same client had a hearing scheduled for January 19th. For those of you bad at math, because she came to law school, that's less than 2 weeks away. For those 2 weeks, Neve, who volunteered to assist with this client, maybe with some assistance from her fellow students who maybe voluntold her. Neve spent those 2 weeks getting caught up to speed on the client's file, brainstorming and implementing novel legal theories, and preparing to argue a motion to suppress evidence. On the back end of her time at the Juvenile Defender Clinic, this past fall, another JDC client had a motion hearing scheduled during finals. While officially finished with her hours and excused from further work, Neve spent the last weeks of the semester poring over body camera footage and drafting an ultimately successful motion, resulting in a complete dismissal of charges against our teenage client. These 2 are very small examples of Neve's dedication to her clients, with many more just like them in all of the months in between. In preparing these remarks, I reached out to some students who worked with Neve. A former trial partner in the clinic describes Neve like this. Neve is one of the best people to work with. She's deeply interested not only in how to solve clients' legal problems, but also in clients' lives and how we can meaningfully support them. She sees our systems for what they are and yet keeps hoping and working towards better, less harmful outcomes. I'm a better person and advocate for having worked with her and been her friend. Another student described Neve as follows: kind, compassionate, and fiercely driven to advocate for those in need. Loyal, super smart, intelligent, and capable, committed to public interest, leader. After graduation, as you heard, Neve is heading to Tulsa, Oklahoma to work with Still She Rises, a holistic defense office dedicated exclusively to the representation of mothers in both the criminal and civil legal systems. Her clients are lucky to have her, and the DAs need to look out. I'm grateful to having the opportunity to work with Neve during her time at Emory, and I cannot think of a more deserving recipient of this year's Mark and Rebecca Wasserman Public Service Award than Neve Creedon-Carey.
Congratulations, Neve. We at the Southern Center for Human Rights are so proud of you. As the executive director of the Southern Center for Human Rights, where we work for equality, dignity, and justice for people impacted by the criminal legal system, I am honored to present the epic Unsung devotion to those most in need to my friend, Atteeyah, Hollie, who truly embodies the spirit of this award. In preparation for this presentation, I walked around the office this afternoon and I asked my colleagues to give one word to describe Atteeyah. And here's what they said: graceful, discerning, committed, compassionate, tenacious, dedicated, dynamic, forthright, empowering, humble. Atteeyah is all of those things, and still, she is more. She is also courageous. In a world where the scales of justice too often tip against people who are marginalized, it takes extraordinary courage and commitment to stand firm and say, "Not on my watch." Atteeyah musters this courage every single day, as she has dedicated her entire career to fighting for the rights of people who are often targeted and oppressed by systems of injustice that criminalize nearly everything, most especially race and poverty. Her wisdom, leadership, and compassion have been key to changing, improving, and even saving lives. Atteeyah is determined. Many years ago, Atteeyah Hollie was a Southern Center intern, investigating the dismal state of indigent defense in Georgia. She found Mr. Moore languishing in jail for 13 months on a loitering charge, though the charges had been dropped 4 months earlier. No one bothered to tell him that the charges against him had been dropped. Atteeyah was successful in advocating for his release, and in 2020, she did it again by winning his parole. The story of Atteeyah's commitment to Mr. Moore over almost 2 decades is poetic. It is the kind of advocacy that requires taking injustice personally. Atteeyah is a fighter. Atteeyah and her team represented over 40 people, overwhelmingly Black and brown, who were illegally detained, searched, arrested, and charged with misdemeanor marijuana possession. The lawsuit was filed against over 30 county and city officials, along with the city of Cartersville. After several years of litigation, dozens of depositions, and multiple attempts at settlement, the case was settled for $900,000 and highlighted the racist policing practices and the unlawful city practices that yield tragic cases like these. Throughout this case, Atteeyah centered the young people who were illegally detained, highlighting that they are people first. People who were substantially harmed by a racist practice that upended their education, careers, and lives. For Atteeyah, being an effective advocate is much more than knowing the law. It also involves uplifting and passionately defending the dignity of the people she represents. Atteeyah is a force. Atteeyah has spearheaded SCHR's litigation challenging illegal police practices, the denial of right to counsel, extreme sentencing, horrific prison conditions, the criminalization of poverty, racial injustice, and the list goes on. Atteeyah envisioned and instituted our resentencing project, which since 2015 has resulted in the resentencing and release of nearly 100 people across the South. Her work has not only transformed the lives of countless individuals, but has also sparked change that reverberates throughout our legal system. From successful litigation to open Georgia's courtrooms, to demanding the right to counsel for youth in Cordele, Georgia, from standing up for victims of domestic violence who were threatened with jail for failing to testify against their abusers, to challenging horrific conditions of solitary confinement. Through strategic litigation and advocacy, Atteeyah has challenged draconian policies, fought against inhumane conditions, and shed light on the darkness that shrouds our prisons and jails. But it's not just her legal acumen that sets her apart. It is her profound empathy and unwavering commitment to equality, dignity, and justice. Atteeyah does not just represent her clients. She stands beside them as a steadfast ally, amplifying their voices and championing their humanity as she does so with uncommon warmth. She is truly a light in dark places. So now I'll tell you my word for Atteeyah, and it is phenomenal. If there is a total package of genuineness, loveliness, brilliance, integrity, and grit, she is it. Taking a few liberties with Maya Angelou's phenomenal woman. Now you understand just why her head's not bowed. She doesn't shout or jump about or even have to talk real loud. When you see her passing, it ought to make you proud, because she's a woman, phenomenal woman. That's Atteeyah. Atteeyah, on behalf of all of those lives you've touched, I am honored to present you with this award in recognition of your unsung devotion to those most in need. We will continue to take inspiration from your wisdom, tenacity, and sincere dedication to supporting people who need your talents most. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition, my friend. I am truly, truly honored to be on this journey with you.
That was incredibly extra. Having attended a number of these celebrations, I've seen colleagues and mentors be honored for bringing dignity and fairness to systems that are devoid of those things. From Tamara Caldas to Jerry Weber to Sarah Garrity, EPIC has been right on the mark with its honors. That's why I was a bit confused when Corey called me to tell me that EPIC students had selected me for an award. Now, part of that is good old imposter syndrome, but I think the bigger part of it was really my confusion because the work that I do is not my own. It's never been in solo endeavor because I work with colleagues who I'm just proud to say are my colleagues, who make me proud to come to work every day and to do what we do day in and day out, whose dogged dedication to the people that they serve is only matched by the love and support that they show for people like me. But I also work with the people that we stand with, by, and for, who are true partners in their quest for freedom. And those partners are some that you heard Terica mention a second ago. They've included accused men, women, and children who look like me, down in South Georgia, who fought for meaningful representation in the criminal courts, knowing full well that any systemic change would likely come after they had already been harmed. Those partners have included a pastor who fought to open closed courtrooms to ensure that the horrors that occurred inside were no longer hidden from sight. They also included a woman with terminal cancer who fought to die at home with dignity with her family instead of dying in a prison infirmary alone. People who've taught me that our traumas and our marginalized status do not strip us of our agency and capacity to create meaningful change. But I also do this work with Nate and my two kids right here. It's much too hard to encapsulate all the ways in which they sustain me day in and day out and have done so over the years with the time I have allotted. So I'll just say this. They accept that I have to be away from home quite a bit. And they reach out to me every night that I'm away to make sure of three things. The first is that I'm okay. The second is that I did that day's Wordle. And the third is that I know that I'm loved no matter the distance between us. I've long done this work with my parents, who've stood by each and every one of my public interest endeavors, no matter how dangerous.
And though initially excited about my plans to become a lawyer, I imagined that their vision of my legal career involved more boardrooms and catered lunches and not weekly trips to rural prisons followed by a 6-inch sandwich in a subway parking lot. And I do this work with allies like Larry Bracken, who's being honored tonight as well, who can write a treatise on how to advance social justice in the private sector, as well as Liz Markowitz, who is not only a legend in the public defense space, but in our entire legal community. And I do this work with Emory students, who I've been so privileged to collaborate with in and outside the classroom. Your passion for creating a world where race and poverty do not cabin people's potential is simply infectious. I've had such the privilege of working with each and every one of you over the last few years. And I've seen how your commitment has led to people being spared from eviction, spared from extreme sentences, spared from execution. Your unsung devotion to those in need broadens our capacity at our office and helps us truly realize racial and economic justice. And just as I'm not alone in anything that I do, neither are you, since no movement is a product of one person's efforts or talents. And you will need each other and your communities because this work is just as devastating as it is rewarding. It is simply devastating to see the people that you grow to know and love be demonized, disregarded, and demeaned. And it's devastating to see the law constantly fail the people that we love. And if you're anything like me, you will likely question your impact. But never lose sight of the many, many forms that change can take. Yes, it's freeing a client from a prison cage, and it's pairing a family with housing. But it's also centering the people that we serve in their cases. And it's also having an experience like I had a couple of months ago, where after working hard, you still lose in court. And your client, through tears, because she'll have to shoulder that loss more than I ever would, turns to me and says, "I'm just so grateful that you tried." To everyone here tonight, thank you so much for coming, but please know that our work to support the students here does not end tonight. It is incumbent upon each and every one of us to ensure that Emory students are able to better our world. So please give what you can so that no Emory student is priced out of the life-saving work that we are championing here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. I've had the great good fortune to have known all three of tonight's nominees since very early in my legal career. As a first-year associate, I worked under Larry Bracken and Matt Calvert, who's also here. And one of the first cases I worked on with Larry was a pro bono matter with Atteeyah, Hollie, and Judge Sarah Garrity, a 1983 case. Getting to work with attorneys of that caliber, that generosity, and that heart for others and sense of ethics has shaped my entire career and myself as a person. But my acquaintance with Liz Markowitz goes back even further. When I was a 1L here at Emory Law, I was on the board of a society, the Emory Advocacy Society, and we would bring in speakers from litigators, folks for brown bag lunches. And it was probably spring of my 1L year when I attended a brown bag lunch, and in walked Liz Markowitz. And if you know Liz Markowitz, you know that when she enters a room, she enters a room. You know Liz is there. And I must have looked like a deer in the headlights because she was so kind, so smart, so passionate about what she did. She told us about her cases, and she talked about her clients, not as if they were folks she was helping, but that they were folks who were part of her life, that these were people, who she cared about, whoever they were, and it changed everything for me, seeing Liz. The next time I saw her was at the Emory Trial Techniques program, And I went up and I introduced myself. Sure, she would not remember me, but she did. And she treated me like a colleague. She introduced me to other folks. She acted as if we were peers, even though I was a 1L student worker at this trial techniques program. And I do think that I'm special to Liz, but I realized I was not unique. Because if you walk into the Fulton County Public Defender's Office, or the Fulton County Jail, or any other place where public defense is happening in the state of Georgia, Liz Markowitz has touched lives and made a mark. She made everyone feel like her colleague and her peer, no matter where they were on her journey. And I am so glad that although I do think it's special, it's not unique, because she has touched so many lives. I didn't grow up around lawyers, and Liz Markowitz was probably the first lawyer I knew who I also called a friend, even though I was a 1L and she was an attorney. I've got my time signal, but I want to end by reading something that 3L student Nikki Hurtado shared with me about Liz. I could not imagine my law school experience without Liz. She has made me a stronger advocate, listener, public speaker, and most importantly, a stronger person. She makes advocacy an art form, and I could not be more grateful to have experienced its beauty with her leading and cheering me on. She hasn't just been a mock trial coach. She's been a mentor, a teacher, a friend, a mom. She is an incredibly special person, and I'm honored to know her. I know I will keep her teachings with me throughout the entirety of my career, in my mind and my heart. She's given me the confidence to continue learning, to continue growing, and to the best advocate and person I can be. The day that I win my first trial, Liz will be the first person I thank. I couldn't agree more, and I'm so proud to say thank you and to present the award for outstanding leadership in the public service to Liz Markowitz. Liz told me not to forget your card.
Wow, this is so surreal. All right, good evening, esteemed guests, members of the EPIC Public Interest Committee, and fellow advocates for change. It is a true honor to receive the award for outstanding leadership in public interest. You know, it's really funny where life leads you. I never expected to be a lawyer. In fact, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I had started a successful and fairly lucrative career at Federated department stores in Manhattan. But as my career was going well, I felt a calling. I felt a calling to go to law school, and not just for any kind of law, but really for criminal law. And so my law school career began at Emory. And in 1990, when I graduated from law school, that's a long time ago, I started my career as a public defender in Fulton County. To be honest, being a public defender is hard. And with absolute respect to the other professions that contribute to our society, I'm not sure there really is a harder job than being a public defender. But the real truth is that for me, being a public defender wasn't a job. It was a calling. For 32 and a half years, I had the honor of speaking for those most marginalized in our society. And sure, there were days of uncertainty, and that comes and goes when you work for government. But the one thing I never stopped loving was the work. I loved the cases, the impossible cases, the charming ones, the families, the mamas who would tell you what to do, the multiple girlfriends, the frustration of crappy offers, the disgust with the system, the satisfaction when a client believes that you have been fighting for them, and the absolute joy of hearing those words, "We the jury find the defendant not guilty. For 32 and a half years, the Public Defender's Office was my home. My coworkers were my family. I raised my 3 children in the system. My kids have grown up with the experiences that only those children of public defenders would know. Visiting crime scenes after a volleyball tournament or a baseball game, sleeping in the jury room because they were sick and mom was on trial, sitting on a client's family's lap waiting on a verdict, the awkwardness of running into mom's clients, jurors, or witnesses in a grocery store or a restaurant, the parental reminder of how to act when approached by the police, and a constant reminder, one crime at a time. Along with representing my clients, one of my greatest privileges has been the opportunity to serve as a teacher and mentor to others. Whether it's as a professor here at Emory, teaching internationally, a team leader at Kessler-Eitzen, or a coach for mock trial. In this role, I have had the unique opportunity to see potential where others may not have recognized it yet in themselves, and to nurture that potential to fruition. But make no mistake, this journey has been one of reciprocation. Not only have I been able to impart knowledge on others, but the process of teaching has fostered continuous personal growth in myself, and it has been nothing short of an honor to have been part of my students' journey. For most of my career, I have had opportunities and offers that financially would have been very beneficial. But for 32 and a half years, I stayed. It wasn't until the middle of 2023 that I made a career-altering change. Not for financial opportunity, but because there was more work to be done. An opportunity to work on a broader level. I added to my public defender family when I joined Shay Alexander, Fulton County's Clerk of Superior Magistrate Courts, as her Chief Strategy Officer. I transitioned from a public defender to a rookie deputy clerk. But I left because once again, I felt the universe calling and I wanted to work for someone who was an advocate for change. Working in the area of public interest separates us from others. We are a tribe. Unlike most tribes, we're not born into this community. We ask to join and we are chosen. It is not a career for everyone. You certainly aren't going to be in it for the money. You shouldn't be in it for the prestige. Be in it for love, for justice, for the satisfaction of knowing that you are serving others, whether it's defending the Constitution or living out your ideals, where the work is exhilarating, energizing, and rewarding. And if you do that, like me, you won't label it as a job. You will call it a calling, and you'll be forever thankful to yourself for answering. Again, thank you for this tremendous honor. I really am truly grateful.
Who was that guy? It's amazing what photoshopping can do. Find my glasses here. Good evening. I am Paul Murphy, Emory class of 1986, and I've been asked to make a few comments about this year's epic lifetime service honoree, Larry Bracken. I've been asked to limit my comments to 3 minutes, which seems impossible because it is impossible to encapsulate Larry's contributions in such short order. I'll do my best. I met Larry 33 years ago, and we have been fast friends ever since. During that time, we have shared both joys and sorrows, births, graduations, weddings, and funerals. Thinking back on all those years, I was reminded of an adage that familiarity breeds contempt. With Larry, that has never been the case. My 33-year friendship with Larry has only bred greater admiration for him as a lawyer, as the father of 3 children, and as a grandfather of 2, and as I can see, soon to be another. As the husband to the beautiful Tracy, and as a friend to all who have been fortunate enough to cross paths with him. A true Renaissance man, to this day, Larry remains a student of the law, literature, history, politics, wine, music of every genre, and the saxophone, which he plays with the smoky smoothness of jazz legend John Coltrane. Okay, I may have engaged in a little hyperbole, but Larry did perform with the Juilliard School High School Band while simultaneously earning a lacrosse scholarship. Larry is a lover of biking, downhill skiing, and his annual backpacking trek with his daughter in the backcountry, which he prepares for by climbing the stairs of the Bank of America building with a 35-pound pack on his back. Larry is an unapologetic and passionate Irishman, blessed with the gift of gab. Larry is prodigious, some might say extreme, in every aspect of his life, squeezing every minute out of every hour. If you board the Larry Bracken airplane, your seatbelt better be fastened. I think Tracy has learned to just watch half of what Larry is doing and just smiles, and at times shakes her head. Larry is a wonderful lawyer, a trial attorney, who loves the fight, but who also treats his opponents with the respect he has both for them and for the profession. Well, Larry will give no quarter intellectually and will always represent his clients with the zeal of a prize fighter. He will also balance those passions with reasonableness and charity. Larry is always quick to help a colleague grind through a vexing legal issue or step in and lend a hand whenever a partner or associate needs relief. Larry loves being a lawyer and all its trappings and responsibilities. After practicing law for almost 40 years, putting in punishing hours, I think Larry still wakes up every morning and announces to himself, I get to be a lawyer today. By every measure, Larry's career has been a success. He has racked up a slew of great courtroom victories and has rarely faced defeat. He's been recognized by his peers for excellence in chambers and in best lawyers and other ratings in publications. He's a member of the American College of Insurance. Larry has made it his personal mission to mentor young lawyers, passing on the wisdom he has garnered and the lessons he has learned under the watchful eyes of some of America's greatest lawyers. Larry has also earned the respect of an impressive list of global corporations who trust Larry with some of their most challenging legal issues and who also sought his guidance during their darkest business and legal moments. He's been elected by his partners to help lead the strategic direction of one of America's great legacy law firms. He has led various teams and initiatives within Hunton, Andrews, Kurth. For most lawyers, achieving just one of these accomplishments and recognitions would be more than the measure of a successful legal career. But for Larry, personal and professional achievement and recognition has never been enough. Larry considers the practice of law a privilege. And with that privilege comes both the shared and sacred responsibility to uphold the legitimacy of the legal system by ensuring that all people have equal access to justice, irrespective of their socioeconomic circumstances. That belief has been at the heart of Larry's career-long commitment to pro bono service. Larry learned the value of public service at the knee of his father, a former district attorney, trial judge, and appellate judge in the New York judicial system. I know that both your dad and mom and your sweet mother-in-law, Bernie, are looking down from heaven, beaming with pride, seeing you earn this honor that you so richly deserve. Larry has made it his career-long practice to carry a heavy load of both state and federal pro bono matters, handling death penalty appeals, prisoners' rights cases, wrongful eviction matters, and domestic violence TROs, among a multitude of other matters where the specialized advocacy skills he possesses can be utilized to bring about justice that would otherwise have been unattainable. Pro bono representation is interwoven into Larry's training of associates so they too can learn how vital pro bono work is to both the victims of injustice and the justice system itself. About 6 years ago, I recruited Larry to join the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation Board, or AVLF, the largest pro bono service provider in the Southeast. Larry's impact was immediate. Not only has Larry's guidance as a board member been indispensable, he and his associates can be regularly found at our Fulton County Courthouse office representing victims of domestic violence. Soon after joining the board, Larry took on a leadership role on the AVLF Executive Committee. He recently led AVLF's latest strategic planning initiative, setting the course of AVLF's ever-expanding service offering for the next 5 years. If that was not enough service, Larry was just recently elected president of our organization. AVLF is ready to meet the ever-increasing demands of pro bono representation in Atlanta under Larry's stewardship. In a world where we determine a lawyer's age by hours worked, Larry's pro bono production makes him a modern-day legal Methuselah. His pro bono work has not only helped save families, it has also saved lives. Larry's impact on our community and our profession has been remarkable. But what is even more remarkable that is Larry has accomplished all those things without the benefit of an Emory Law School education. You see, Larry attended a state law school somewhere west of Richmond, Virginia, where they have a peculiar, and some might say unnatural, attachment to our third president, and where the students run around yelling, "Wahoo wah." You can only imagine the heights that Larry could have reached if his Juris Doctorate was earned in these hallowed halls. And it's often said that we can choose our friends, but we cannot choose our family. Well, I love my many siblings unequivocally and would not trade them for anything. If I could draft another person to join my family as a brother, it would be Larry. I guess I will have to settle with Larry being just my dear friend and my brother in the law. So it is my pleasure We're close. Now that was worth waiting for, right? There we go. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you my friend and brother in the law, and this year's Epic Lifetime Award winner, Larry Bracken.
Thank you, Paul. I'm not as funny as Paul is, sorry. I want to thank Paul, but I really want to thank Emory Law and Epic. I've been to many of these events over the years, and this law school, this organization has been a leader for many years in recognizing public interest law as something that we can't talk about enough in our society. The preamble to the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct contains this sentence: A lawyer should be mindful of deficiencies in the administration of justice and of the fact that the poor, and sometimes persons who are not poor, cannot afford adequate legal assistance and should therefore devote professional time and civic influence on their behalf. Now, lawyers whose careers are dedicated to public service, people like Liz and my friend Atteeyah and many other people in this room whom I know, live this sentence every day in their careers. But the majority of the lawyers in this country are not public interest lawyers in their careers. They're in private law firms. And so I want to talk today briefly, particularly to the law students and younger lawyers, about how to be a public interest lawyer in a private law firm. In 1986, I joined my law firm, Hunton Andrews Kurth, and I immediately knew that I was at a place where public interest work and pro bono work was not merely encouraged, but that it was part of the DNA of the law firm. And one way I learned it was part of the DNA of the law firm was, a month and a half into practice, I was defending a woman who had been abused by her husband and blinded him by throwing acid in his face in a 3-day criminal trial by myself. And the law firm said, "You can do this. This is what we do. We are lawyers. We do pro bono work, and we do serious pro bono work, and we take our skills and we bring it into the community." And I got very interested in our firm's community-based legal services. Our firm has an office in Churchill and Richmond, where I started practicing, doing housing work, doing family law. Got very interested in being in the community, getting to know the clients, getting to know people that I would not have known and would not have known their circumstances without getting into the legal practice. And then I was pulled into death penalty cases and habeas corpus cases. And those two areas, community-based legal services and habeas corpus and prisoners' rights work, are what I've done for the last 38 years. So when I moved to Georgia 32 years ago, I had the good fortune of being able to pursue both of those paths. First of all, my former law partner, Rita Sheffy, whom many of you know and who is the current executive director of Atlanta Legal Aid, founded our firm's Summer Hill neighborhood office. And we did community-based work out of Summer Hill because that's where the clients were. That's where they were comfortable coming. That's where we could provide the best services. And then in 2001, my team and I were appointed to our first prisoner rights cases by Judge Hull on the 11th Circuit. And from there, we took on an increasing caseload of prisoner rights cases, habeas corpus, wrongful convictions, 3 strikes cases, parole board petitions, and especially Eighth Amendment prison condition cases, where I had the privilege of beginning to work in 2004, around that time, with Atteeyah, Hollie, and with the amazing, amazing lawyers at the Southern Center for Human Rights. Atteeyah, Jerry Weber, Mary Sidney Harbord, who's one of the best investigators ever. I know she's in operations, but you should put her back as an investigator, the best one I've ever worked with. Judge Sarah Garrity, still the most brilliant and most patient co-counsel I've ever had in a case, who, with her wisdom, kept me from doing a lot of stupid things early on in prisoner rights cases. Brilliant lawyer, and we're so lucky to have her on the bench. We learned many things. I mean, we learned that habeas corpus cases and prisoner rights cases are always uphill battles. The Supreme Court of the United States since 1980 has just made it harder and harder and harder to get these cases in front of the courts and to have them reconsidered. Prisoners have no one to advocate for them but their families and organizations like the Southern Center for Human Rights and those of us who volunteer with them. But we also learned that we as lawyers have the power to correct these constitutional wrongs, not just for our clients, but also for many other prisoners whose rights will be affected by the victories and, as Atteeyah pointed out, sometimes the losses that we face in court. So with Southern Center, we freed clients that were wrongly convicted, saved lives of prisoners who were deprived of medical treatment and who were living in violent prison conditions. We improved sanitation in prisons. We got access to reasonable accommodations for disabled prisoners. So through all of that, which continues to today, I still wanted to do some community-based work as well. And so, as Paul mentioned, it was actually 8 years ago, Paul and another good friend of mine, Shell Tanger, said, hey, how about you come over and help with AVLF? You're only doing a few hundred hours a year with Southern Center. You can take this on as well. And I got to learn about AVLF, and it's amazing. Then an assistant director, now executive director, Michael Lucas, who's here with us today. And at the time I joined the board and became a volunteer, Michael had come up with this amazingly creative way of getting into the community and providing community-based legal services. And we now have professionals permanently stationed in 8 elementary schools in Atlanta and at the courthouse.